You know, when we do Pat's personal portraits on KTAR.com, it's always a little more awkward for me if I know someone as long as I've known Denise Resnik, because I don't want to know the answers to the questions. And in this particular case, when we're talking about a week when KTAR is really focused on the subject of autism and people with autism, I want to talk to you about Resnik. I want to talk to you about Denise Resnik, businesswoman. Introduce yourself from that standpoint. Professionally, what are you?
I'm a marketing and communications consultant. I've had my agency for 26 years. It's DRA Communications, and have been very involved in our community. I'm a native Phoenician, and my heart is with many causes. I never thought that it would be autism.
And you're a wife?
And I'm a wife of 28 years and the proud mother of two remarkable children. Our daughter Allie is 22 and Matthew will be 21 this summer.
Matthew gets more attention than Allie does. I don't mean in the family, but I mean by all of us when we do our radiothon and by the people at SARC. We always talk about Matthew Resnik.
We do talk a lot about Matthew, and I truly feel like Matthew, like SARC has been growing up with Matthew over the past 15 years. He was diagnosed with autism just after a second birthday, and it turned my world upside down. I wasn't prepared for being the mother of a child with special needs, and I really didn't know a lot about autism. Few of us did in the early 90s, but we certainly know a whole lot more now. And thanks to KTAR and friends like you, Pat, this community knows a whole lot more about autism and the early warning signs and what we can do about it, and the fact that there is hope for children and adults with an autism spectrum disorder.
We know a whole lot more, but it seems sometimes as if we've hardly scratched the surface. So tell me, in digest form, what is it?
Autism is a complex neurobiological disorder that affects an individual's ability to communicate both receptively and expressively, affects their ability to socialize so that there could be a disconnection and maybe lack eye contact. And also we find that individuals on the spectrum have a lot of obsessive compulsive, repetitive and routine types of behaviors. In our son's case, Matthew is more severely impaired by his autism, and the world is a very confusing place for him.
Has he ever tried to explain to you, I mean really to explain to you, not as a mom, but as somebody who just doesn't understand?
Matthew is a parent pleaser. He wants to get the answers right, and this past week he was very ill with the flu. But when I asked him, how are you feeling? He knew the answer was fine, because it's always fine. And so, Pat, one of the most difficult things about being Matthew's mother is I've never been able to really know what's going on in there. I know that he's very bright, that he can solve triple-digit multiplication problems in his head. He is our little human GPS system. He knows his way around without ever driving a car, and he knows just about every Beatles song. He also knows every Dr. Seuss story, too. He's a smart kid, but he has a very difficult time expressing what's inside.
It seems that in the period of time that I've known you, that the increase in the incidence of autism in all of its forms has skyrocketed. Does anybody know why?
We don't know why. We have some ideas. One is certainly greater awareness. We've gone from an incidence of 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 100 in the state of Arizona and 1 in 110 nationally. So 1 in 110 children nationally are being diagnosed with autism
But that's
today.
inconceivable to me, that something could change mathematically that dramatically.
So we know that certainly there's greater awareness, but we also know that there's something else going on, and we know that we believe that there could be something environmentally, but we haven't been able to pinpoint it.
Theories?
Theories, neurotoxins, changes in our environment. You know, we see an uptick also in autoimmune disorders, but we don't really know about autism.
Vaccines?
Vaccinations. There have been a number of studies that have disproven that there is a link between early childhood vaccinations and autism. At the same time, I would tell you we don't really know what autism is. We know that there are autisms. We know that there are likely dozens, if not hundreds, of genes that could be impacting an individual's ability to communicate or respond socially or to make sense out of this world. But we don't know yet what it is, so we don't really know how to stop it.
I want you to answer me this one final question, not as Matthew's mom, if you can possibly separate yourself. Be the practical businesswoman that you have been. Do you realistically ever believe there'll be a cure?
I hope that someday we will find that cure for those individuals whose autism is a real impairment in their life. For us, it's all about quality of life. There was a time that I was hopeful that we would find a cure for Matthew's autism because I feel it has truly impaired his quality of life. But until we find that cure, every day I get up in the morning and every day I go to sleep with hope in my heart and in my head that we're going to find more answers, find new pathways to help this little guy express what's inside, for him to be able to better navigate his world and for the world to better appreciate who he is and the wonderful abilities and talents he has to share. So I'm hopeful, Pat. I don't know if the C word is there. And again, for some individuals, they don't want to be cured. And that's not, for them because they've embraced their autism and they can talk about their autism. But again, we have a big spectrum. And for Matthew's autism, when he can't tell me where it hurts, how he feels, who he loves or who he wants to spend time with, those are things I would love to find a cure for.
Her name is Denise Resnik. I'm Pat McMahon. And one of the most important names for you to remember is the research organization that exists so splendidly in the Valley of the Sun. It's SARC, and you hear about that too on KTAR.com, along with Pat's personal portrait.